Our first property fund in London was a real success. For our national fund, we have already acquired our first batch of properties and they'll soon be in the hands of St Mungo's so they can house tenants across the UK.
St Mungo's is a homelessness charity. It's about providing housing and a home that people can build.
I think it's really hard for single parents having to go from one private rented to another.
Without this scheme, I would literally have nowhere to go. Like, I would be homeless. This property has really helped my whole life. I couldn't be more grateful.
These are investments which will transform the lives of potentially thousands of people. That's an exciting way of bringing investment and impact together. Resonance is a social impact investment company. We've been around for 14 years. We're also an FCA authorised investment manager, and we manage a range of funds that deliver both financial return and also focused social impact. At Resonance, really, we're inspired by good social enterprise, and St Mungo's are a great example of that. The beginnings of our first property fund were an approach by St Mungo's to ask whether we could find ways that investment could help scale what they had already been doing in building up a social enterprise called Real Lettings.
Real Lettings was established about 10 years ago, mainly due to the lack of move-on accommodation for our homeless clients moving on into independent accommodation. So we set up a social enterprise where we leased properties from private landlords and then we housed homeless families and single people into those properties. The number of properties was getting smaller and smaller. The rents were going through the roof and we were no longer competitive. So the Real Lettings Property Fund came along, and what's so brilliant about that is the properties are lovely. They're really nice quality properties. They're all in very good condition and easy to maintain and a really good size. So if you put someone in a good quality property and they treat it well, it really makes them feel good about themselves and they progress much, much more.
The National Homelessness Property Fund is really building on the existing success of the Real Lettings Property Fund in London. That fund was launched over 3 years ago now by Resonance in partnership with St Mungo's and has successfully delivered a portfolio of around 260 properties in London and deployed nearly £60 million worth of investors' money into that social impact investment. It's delivering financial yield to its investors, and it's also delivering the outcomes that we want to see for the tenants of those properties.
Some of our clients have lived in hostels and are moving on from hostels. Many of them are families who are living in temporary B&B accommodation.
Good morning,
St Mungo's are perfect for this because we have years of experience of working with this client group. For a lot of them, it's the first time they've ever had a property and they need a lot of support around engaging in the local community, helping them link back into training, employment, and learning how to actually manage a tenancy.
It was a lot for me to take in because it's my first property I lived in by myself. I was in the care system, like in and out of prison for little things, minor things, and I got like a really big sentence. Done the big sentence, and then it was like, wow, I'm back into the real world. It's been really good for me, but it was also like a shock to the system. Just little things, like I couldn't even cook before I lived in it. So I've learned how to cook, just normal things that my mum used to do that I take for granted, like washing my clothes. The other day I got a water bill, it was huge. And it's like, now I realise what my mum was saying when she used to say, turn off the tap. It put me to grips with reality and that there's bills and this costs this and you have to buy certain things, and just really helped me stay on that like sort of, you know, straight path.
People can stay for between 2 and 3 years before they move on. Well, with a private rented sector property, there's always a hanging over them that the landlord might ask them to leave, might evict them.
At that time, obviously, I wasn't working, didn't have any savings, didn't have any money. I had to go in emergency housing, which was awful. It was just a room, 2 single beds. It had a kitchen and toilet. It was tiny. So I stayed there for a month. That was hard. And I got the phone call from Croydon Council saying basically they found me somewhere with Real Lettings.
We refurbish the kitchens and bathrooms if need be. It gets fully redecorated. It really works for the fund because they can resell it. They're all in good areas with good amenities, and it works really well for the tenant because they get to live in a property that's in a good location with lots of local services that they can access.
The Real Lettings Property Fund in London was an award-winning initiative, so we've actually launched our second property fund, the National Homelessness Property Fund, in December 2015 with £30 million, and we're now investing across Oxford, Bristol and Milton Keynes. So we'd like to take this property fund to at least another 3 cities this year. This fund is like any other fund in the market. We will report to investors on our performance, but in addition, we like to measure such things as whether the tenant is looking after their property, whether they're saving to move on, whether they're building a resilience against homelessness. When we're sourcing property, we're obviously looking to purchase an attractive yield, and that is one element of the return to investors. At the end of the fund, there will be capital appreciation within the portfolio, and they have a life of between 7 to 9 years, which gives confidence to investors that they will receive their capital back on a certain date, and also allows real lettings and other charity partners to plan internally because they'll know how many properties they're getting and when, and it works for both parties.
Our aim is to help people when they most need it for as short a time as we can do, and then see them on their way.
I don't know exactly how long I'm staying here, but it's definitely gave me a chance to look at certain avenues. I do labouring work now. I want to further that and get my 360 digger course so that I could get more money.
They are trying to help people like myself basically find your feet and have that accommodation that's not too expensive. It's really good for me to be able to start working. I want to totally come off benefits and I want to buy my own property.
98% of our clients have kept their home and kept their home in really good condition. And of that 98%, 90% say that it's had a significant impact on the rest of their life and their social networks and how they feel about the future. So it's a stat that we're really quite proud of.
This is a real opportunity to take this successful blueprint from London to numerous cities, building a portfolio of hundreds of properties and ultimately housing thousands of tenants throughout the UK.